main issue. I don't think there was a main issue unless if the other team misses 2 penalties and you still lose within 5 penalties, that of course doesn't help. But I think in general, it was a game where we twice came 1-0 up, 1 goal up. And in my opinion, we controlled the game till the moment they scored the 2-2. And then all of a sudden, although we still had 1 big chance for Mo Salah, but we could have lost it in the end as well. But till that moment of the 2-1, I think there was every reason for me to expect that we would win this game. But after the 2-2, we were maybe lucky that we could go to penalties. I think in the whole preseason we saw how that we are able to create more and we're more comfortable on the ball. We create more opportunities, chances. We dominate maybe even more. Last season we had a lot of ball possession, but that didn't always lead to promising situations. Now we are better in creating and getting promising situations than we were, in my opinion, throughout the whole last season. But the other side is also true that we've conceded 4 against Milan, 1 against the Japanese team, 2 against Bilbao, and again 2 today. And what made us really strong last season was we only won mostly by a margin of 1 goal, and that had mostly to do with us keeping a clean sheet or as a maximum conceding 1 goal. Today we scored twice against Palace last season. We were not able to do that once. We beat them 1-0 and we had a draw 1-1 at Anfield. So that's the positive, but conceding 2 against a good team, by the way, that has made it really difficult for everyone last season, and I'm expecting them this season again. A lot of balls passed into our last line, and a lot of crosses. For me, I felt that we didn't give away that many chances till they scored the 2-2. Then they were threatening us more. Just making sure that everybody was calm and not distracted. So to take their penalty, and it was quite clear which 5 were going to take it. So then it was only the following order that we had to decide. And that's what we did. And then it's, for the players to get their focus for the penalty, and that's what they did. It was quite clear from the first second who would take it. There was no distraction. But that didn't lead to us scoring all 5. We've indeed replaced 4 players, and that sometimes you need some time either to adapt offensively, either to adapt defensively. But against Bilbao, we didn't concede 1 chance at all, maybe 1, I don't know, but we've conceded 2 set pieces, which are also a big part of football, but that's not from open play. I don't feel we conceded that much today, but again conceded 2 goals because the first big chance they got that resulted in the penalty. Maybe I forget a few chances, but it felt to me that in the 78th minute that was their second big chance of the game. But in general there were not many chances because they went to a low block. We had a lot of ball possession. And but after the 2-2 they had. So it needs maybe a little bit of adjustment defensively at the moment because we don't concede a lot of chances, but we do concede goals at the moment. I think it's always nice to score a goal, not only for him, also for Jeremy Frimpong, if you start your career at a new club. But it would have been even nicer to win a game of football because I think that's more important than scoring a goal. But he had a good impact, but he's also an example of a player that came, I think, 1.5, 2 weeks ago in the end of our Asian tour. So for me, with only 3 or 4 days in between the Friday game, it wouldn't be smart to play him 90 minutes because of course we have Federico, but he's not been with us with the Asian tour as well. So there's not a lot to replace him with. So if he gets an injury at this moment of time, that would be a big risk for the Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal game. So that's why I took him off. But he had a good game today, that's for sure.
I don't agree that we could have been blown away in the first 10 minutes. The first shot was the first goal, so but the reaction was great, and because you also first game playing Liverpool, first chance they score, or first shot they score. The reaction was great because then we played forward. We played most of the time in their half and scored the equalizer. And then without the chance, we are 2-1 down. And the reaction was great again. And at halftime we said, we stick to our plan, we keep calm, we know that we will get a few chances, and then it's okay. Score from it. We know that we can score. And we will get the situations. Players did it, had the confidence, had the belief, and so I'm really pleased with the performance today. So I think after the 90 minutes, it was a game where both teams were more or less on the same level, and this makes us proud against Liverpool, against the champion of the Premier League. I showed the players a video before we went to Wembley about the happiness of the fans after winning the FA Cup, and this is, we call it the emotional reward. Yeah, you standing here in front of the fans, having these emotions, this feeling, you can't buy with any money in the world. So you have to deserve it, and the players deserved it after the FA Cup, and the players deserved it today. Our fans deserved it in the same way, because they are always supporting us from the beginning until the end. Even today, when we were down, they're always pushing the team forward, and there's a great connection. And at the end, we all were rewarded, and this is what then stays forever. We know that Dean is a great goalkeeper. He saved many, or he cleared many chances for us, supported us, and also there's also a lot of working behind. For example, the day before the meeting in the hotel with the analysts, with his goalkeeping coach, he went through all the penalty takers from Liverpool, and he's well prepared, and then he has the confidence, I think, that he can save the penalties. He showed it. But also on the other side, I'm really delighted that Justin Devaney took the decisive penalty. 21-year-olds, and it was when we were talking about. We didn't talk before, never. Because you don't know who is on the pitch after a few subs, and it was clear then JP, Eberechi and Ismaila take the first three, then Borna is usually a good penalty taker, and then we were looking for the fifth one, and Justin said, I take the fifth one, with a lot of confidence, and then I said, okay, it's you. And I think he showed it, and this is how we want to be. Yeah, take responsibility, never be scared or be worried or concerned that you can make a mistake, because this is football, and so this is what really many positive things today. Today's performance we could influence, and I think the players showed it and proved it in an excellent way, that they didn't think about the noise around us, so they were really focused on what they had to do on the pitch, and this is why we could win. Tomorrow we have no influence, and that means players will celebrate tonight, and we will meet tomorrow for lunch and train in the afternoon, and then we will see if we already know the decision, and we will accept it. So we can't influence it. So we don't think about it, because tomorrow afternoon we will schedule the rest of the August. If we stay in the Conference League, we have 5 more games to play. If we play in the Europa League, we have 3 more weeks to train, what would be helpful. But again, no influence, so I don't think about it. We always stick to our principles, and it was the same team the same team started like in the FA Cup final. At Liverpool, we missed Mark Gay and Adam Wharton due to concussions. We know when we play as a team, when we stick to our principles and do it in the right way, we're always having the togetherness and the belief in us, then it's not so easy to play against us. We know that we're always able to score goals, and I think we showed it again. This is something that was created over months, and of course was at the end of the season was lifting the first trophy for us. This just underlined this process, and this is, I mentioned it in the press conference before the game. I said we started on a completely different level than the year before, because the team stayed together, and this is always, it's consistency is always is one of the foundations of success. And hopefully we can keep the squad together. Not just the win, I think the performance gives us a lot of confidence, so we had confidence. We had a very good pre-season. We also could see that we are not on the top level. We didn't expect it. For example, Chris Richards is just in training for 2 weeks because he played the Gold Cup with the USA. A few other players, Dani Munoz is in training for 3 weeks, so we have still to build up resilience, physical resilience. So mentally the players were absolutely top today, but physically. We have to improve for all the games that come up, and this is what we will do. And therefore, you need a rhythm of games. You need training rhythm, not just for 2 or 3 weeks, really over weeks and months. And this is what we started. But of course, always winning something, being competitive against the champion gives you confidence, and this is what we will take from today's game. He didn't score in preseason, so fortunately he saved his goals for the first competitive game, and yeah, he did well. He was fouled when we got the penalty and scored the goal. But you could see all our attackers had the chances. JP before the penalty, Eberechi in the second half with a big save of Alisson and Ismaila as well. And we know that our 3 attackers, we will bring them into situations where they can score. And today it was JP and Ismaila, and the others will follow. We have a great connection between the team, the club, and our fans. And I think every Crystal Palace fan is very proud of being a Crystal Palace fan, is very proud of where they are from, is very proud of having this togetherness and supporting the team. And every player is, what I can tell you is every player is very proud, wearing the Eagle shirt and playing also for our fans. And I mentioned it after the FA Cup, and this is my honest belief is we could give them hours where they forgot all the stuff what they are having in their real life, because football is sometimes like a bubble, and it's the same. I said what really we're talking today about is like you go to a musical or theater and you want just enjoy 2 hours and forget all the stuff around it, and this is what we can deliver to our fans, and I think this is what they appreciate. And we never promise that we win a game. This is what we can't promise, but I think what they appreciate, and this is why the connection is so close, they appreciate that the team always gives 100% for Crystal Palace, for the Eagle, and tries to win the game. And I think this is the feeling everybody has. It doesn't always happen, but then it's not a problem. Yeah? And I think this is where we is also a foundation of our success. This togetherness, this spirit, and this is not just the players or the staff. It's really the whole club where the fans are involved.
Let's look at the starting lineups. Crystal Palace, they set up in a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1. We got Henderson in goal, Wehi, LaCroix, Richards, Mitchell, Kamada, Wharton, Munoz, Eze, Sarr, and Mateta. So sometimes it was a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-3. Liverpool was in a 4-2-3-1. Alisson in goal. We got Frimpong, Konate, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai, Mo Salah, Florian Wirtz, the number 10, Cody Gakpo, and Ekitike. At the start, Liverpool were dominating the game. They had most of the possession. But what eventually happened was that because of Crystal Palace's counterattacks and transitions, the game became more of about what Liverpool was doing off the ball. And so Liverpool occasionally had this midfielder drop into the back 3, and this was to basically outnumber Palace's front 3. So it was Slot's policy of a +1, having 4 guys at the back if 3 guys were attacking from the other team. At times, this created a 3-2 shape, 3 here, 2 here. And Kirkes was the deeper fullback, and this allowed Wirtz to roam freely and Frimpong to attack the wide channels and connect with Mo Salah. And with Szoboszlai deeper, normally he was the number 10 last season, but this season he's been playing in the double pivot. So basically, if he's playing deeper, this allowed Liverpool to switch play, and that is because they've lost Trent's long ball threat. Szoboszlai going long is what compensates for that. And we saw that in the second goal with Frimpong coming down this side. And it was actually Panenka sort of a log pass, but it ended up going in the goal. But now here's the deal. With this sort of a formation, there's a trade-off. And that trade-off came off the ball. With Szoboszlai in a deeper role, what happens is that if Liverpool have possession of the ball and Wirtz is roaming around, connecting with the striker or Cody Gakpo. Soboslai is deep off the ball. This leaves him too far away from the press. So if Liverpool lose the ball here and Soboslai is over here, everybody is in a position to counter press and win the ball back quickly. So this doesn't allow the transition to happen. But if Soboslai is here and he's too far away from the press and Liverpool lose the ball, which obviously any team which is going for possession and crosses and short passes will eventually lose the ball at some point in time. And so when that happens, the gap between Soboslai and these other players is too big that it allows Crystal Palace to go into a transition. And that makes everything dangerous because then, their players up deep, and at that point they can outnumber these guys. This disrupts Liverpool's counter press. Before Palace's goal, Soboslai and Kirkiz's positioning had been perfect to counter press if possession was lost. But the larger gaps meant that Palace could break in transition. So the main factor that allowed Palace to gain more control and Liverpool to cede it was also the usage of Cody Gakpo. And so what was going on here was that Cody Gakpo, instead of pressing high in a 4-4-2, what was basically going on was that Gakpo was tasked with tracking Munoz. And this effectively made Liverpool into a back five formation. This does tie into Slot's long-held principle of having a +1 in the back line because obviously if Munoz is attacking from the sides, and what happens is that any team that's playing a 3-4, it's these guys that are basically providing the threat. And so because of that +1 and Cody Gakpo dropping deep and forming a back five, what happened was that this came with a cost. And with Gakpo deep, Liverpool weren't able to press up high and regain the ball quickly or dominate possession. So eventually they ended up losing possession, and that was seen in the second half. When Liverpool were in a back five and Palace were doing the transition and even possession, what happened was that Chris Richards became the free man. And this happened a lot. He had tons of space to drive forward with the ball with the progressive carries. In fact, if we look at the second half when Palace turned the game around, they had 46% possession. And to have that against a team against Liverpool is a huge deal. And then with this, once they started getting possession, they also got momentum of the game. And when you have momentum in a cup final, when you turn that momentum around and capture it, it's really hard to turn things around. So we did see Salah go in that transition and try to get that goal, but it didn't work out. So overall, in the second half, it was Palace with most of the possession. And then you saw that passivity out of possession as well, because if you look at Curtis Jones, once Liverpool lose the ball and the transition is going on, he's not going to drop deep. And that means that if the press isn't happening, what we also see is that Wirtz can't get in the press either. If he can't trigger the press, he can't engage Eze. And that leaves Eze free as well. Liverpool basically simply drop off. And if everybody's moved around here, what happens is that if there's an overload here, Munoz just has to step out wide and everybody's stuck over here, so it leaves the space open. Palace can come up with that threat. In Palace's goal, Slot basically wanted Gakpo to follow Munoz, and Kirkis gets dragged wide because of that. And this opens a channel right here. If you look at it, it opens this channel, and it was Richards that drove up with the ball, and Van Dijk now had a decision to make. That does he want to press Mateta or read the situation here? And he ends up jumping up onto Mateta. Mateta was the obvious pass. But looking at the three Liverpool midfielders, they're basically caught ball watching. And Endo isn't tight enough on Mateta, and the other two midfielders, they basically fail to cover the passing lane. So we see this beautiful through pass over here, and then Allison jumps in, but obviously it's too late, and we get Sarr with that beautiful goal. Sarr is one of the guys when he was playing for Watford, I believe. He scored 3 goals, I think, and that was one of the games when Liverpool were on an undefeated run for the longest time. That's where that run ended. So it was basically looking at Liverpool's midfield shape. It was poor, and because they didn't have that high press, because of Palace's 4 in the midfield and that wide attacking channels, that's what happens. Wharton's pass, it was just exquisite. This is where balance was clear, because while the goal, it showed the defensive logic behind Gakpo's role, it also underlined how much control Liverpool were sacrificing. So basically, Gakpo, he should have been up front over here. But because everybody was dropping off, so what was happening here was that those guys were playing a role which was not actually their real role, and that's why the shortcomings were happening. Because Gakpo, Boslai, and all these guys, they're basically playing out of position, and that's not their main role. So obviously there are going to be slip-ups, and that's what Crystal Palace exploited. What used to happen under Klopp, Liverpool often used that 4-3-3 against back three systems, and they used to match up man to man. The six, he cracks whoever drops the forward, whoever drops deep, and the two fullbacks, they basically press up high. Basically, the front three engage the back three, and the eights jump onto the double pivot. Like that setup, it used to force turnovers high up the pitch, and that gave Liverpool more of the ball. And because the press was so aggressive, so tight, that whenever they used to lose the ball, they used to go into that counter press. That if it wasn't a really good, highly skillful team, even a team like Barcelona, they used to have problems breaking out of that press. There was somebody like Messi who had to dribble right through them, and even that didn't work. So that was the strength of Klopp's system. So basically, this is something that Arne Slot needs to figure out against teams that play a back three and a midfield four.